Was it so long ago? No, not so long. But not long enough.
The sight of Homeworld 3's sleek, indomitable mothership preparing to jet off into the unknown, accompanied by radio chatter and a moody score, feels like a homecoming. For newcomers, it's a striking scene. For veterans, it calls to mind the original mothership getting ready to leave Karak. The beginning of one of the best strategy games ever created. Homeworld 3 wants to remind you of its legacy a lot, especially in the campaign. But where the original Homeworld often took a minimalist approach from its narrative to its map design, Homeworld 3 is comparatively busier, with maps full of debris and terrain, and a story that consistently wants you to take a break from the fun stuff so you can listen to boring conversations in hideous cutscenes that look ripped from a bad 90s sci-fi game. The plot is mostly forgettable nonsense, and I confess I checked out pretty quickly. The good news, though, is that the missions are largely brilliant. Each of them puts the fleet in a new kind of peril, but there are some real doozies. The original Homeworld felt revolutionary thanks to its 3D battles, but Homeworld 3 makes you appreciate the cosmic conflicts so much more thanks to space terrain. Every single mission is laden with screen-filling structures and asteroids, creating defensible positions, choke points, and ambush spots. How you approach a fight matters so much more because, while you have this complete freedom of movement, you also have maps that give you both advantages and limitations. I must admit that I would have liked some maps that were just set in deep space without all these accoutrements though. Full 3D movement already gives you plenty to deal with, and I miss the purity of its predecessor's take on space combat. Sometimes a bunch of ships dancing around each other and trying to score a killing blow is enough. That was the magic of Homeworld, this elegant balance of complexity and simplicity. And it can sometimes feel like Homeworld 3 is just trying too hard. While every mission has a distinct vibe, unique objectives, and a fresh layout, your fleet always persists. But the pace of missions means that you usually still have time to build up before things heat up. What's disappointing, though, is the lack of player control over when a mission ends. Only one mission lets you select when you hit the hyperspace button and leave. The rest of them just chuck you into the next one the moment you complete the main objective. You have no time to mop up the remaining salvage or resources, or replace any ships that you lost in the final battle. It took me around 15 hours to finish up the campaign, making it a bit more brisk than its predecessors, but I doubt I'll play it again. Despite the quality of its missions, the heavily scripted AI means that a second outing just isn't going to offer much. Even when the AI is being aggressive, it never feels reactive, instead feeling like it's just following a schedule. It can put up a fight, sure, but only when the mission calls for it, giving your adversary some crucial advantages. But once you've figured out the script, it's incapable of pulling off any surprises. This also means when you don't play the way you're meant to, it has no idea what to do. Skirmishes spice things up though, with the AI acting more like a human player, while the simple objectives like destroying the mothership or simply annihilating every enemy vessel aren't as stimulating as the campaigns. The sandbox nature of these skirmishes ends up showcasing the best parts of Homeworld. Then there's the new game mode, War Games. It's not my cup of tea. It's an RTS take on roguelikes, and every single mission sees you bombarded with enemy incursions, which only grow in intensity the longer you spend playing. It punishes you for taking your time. The AI isn't any more reactive than the campaigns, but it's certainly more unrelenting and exhausting. But even with a co-pilot in tow, I just don't see the appeal. You get fewer options, less time, and more threats. None of this really plays to Homeworld 3's strengths, and I'd rather just dive into a co-op comp stomp in Skirmish mode. Homeworld is such a formative game for me that it's hard to imagine anything knocking it off its pedestal, but Homeworld 3 does make it wobble a lot. Watching dogfights in the canyons of a frozen moon, or a formation of bombers boosting up the wall of an industrial complex, praying some of them survive the turret fire, is undeniably thrilling stuff. But whenever I had to sit through another terrible cutscene, babysit my capital ships, or do another run of War Games, the wobbling ceased. So this isn't quite the Homeworld 3 I always dreamed of, but there are times where it gets pretty close.